John chapter number 21. John 21. I want to revisit a post-resurrection passage that we've looked at in time past, but I want us to look at it with fresh eyes in light of what we have been discussing over these past few weeks. John chapter number 21. John 21. Park there, and I'll meet you there in just a moment. Last week, we talked about the believer's blueprint for winning in every season. And in that message, I explored the necessary moves that you and I have to make to position ourselves to win in every season of life. I not only talked about those moves, I also shared a statement on last week that I really just want to unpack on today because it feels incomplete that I gave it to you, but I didn't expound upon it. And that particular statement was simply this: just because you lose a game, it doesn't mean you have to have a losing season. Just because you lose a game, it does not mean that you have to have a losing season. And you all know me, I'm equal opportunity. Last week I talked about Dallas. But Dallas won. This week I'm talking about the Saints. The Saints lost. But just because you lost a game doesn't mean that you have to have a losing season. No, the key is how you respond to the L. How do you respond to the loss? Because in sports, most sports are this way, but after a tough loss, here's what the coaches and yet the team will do. They will watch the game film. They watch the game film to study what happened, what went wrong, to determine what adjustments need to be made. They look at what went wrong, listen carefully, not to dwell on the failure, but to learn from it in order to make the necessary adjustments for the next game. I want to posit today that it is in the same way as believers when we take an L, when we face failure, when we have setbacks. We do not have to allow the failure to have the final word. I need you to repeat that after me. Failure does not get the final word. No, instead we have to watch the film of our lives. We got to go back and study what has transpired to determine what went wrong, not again to dwell upon the failure, but to study it so that we can learn from it and make the necessary adjustments for our future, to make the necessary adjustments so that we can win the season. The reality is this, and I believe this with all my heart. I know it theologically from studying. I know it experientially from living. That with God's help, our setbacks can become set-ups for our comeback. I'm going to say it again. With God's help, our setbacks, we're going to have them. But our setbacks can become set-ups for our comeback. And I believe in John chapter number 21, where I ask you to meet me, hopefully you're there by now, I believe that it is here that we get to see what God can do with failure, but it's not just what he can do with failure, it's how he transforms failure into an opportunity for restoration and renewed purpose. I need you to hear that. that God can take our L's, he can take our failures, he can take our setbacks, and God can use them and transform them into opportunities that's going to result in our restoration, our comeback, but also our renewed sense of purpose. John 21, I want to begin reading at verse number 1. I'm reading from the English Standard Version. If you're traveling with a different translation, just follow along with me. I'm reading in verse number 1, and I'll read down to verse number 9 to give us the entire passage in its context. Verse 1, it says, "After this, Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee. And he revealed himself in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and the two others of his disciples were together." Everybody say the team. They were together. Verse 3, Simon Peter said to them, "I am going fishing." They said to him, "We will go with you." They went out, got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Just as the day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. And Jesus said to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" And they answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea, by implication to swim to where the Lord was. Verse 8 tells us the other disciples came in a boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards off. I'm titling this teaching today, "Learning from Our Losses." Learning from our losses. God turns setbacks into comebacks. And I believe if you've lived any length of time and have gone through challenges in life, you know that experientially as well. God can take what was a setback and position you for a comeback. If I had to early in this message call a witness to the stand, I would call Joseph, who experienced multiple setbacks in his family, setbacks relative to his position in work and on his job, setbacks throughout all of his life. But here at the end of it, here's what Joseph had to say about the setbacks. What the enemy meant for evil, God was able to turn around for my good. That's a reason to praise him. That what folk meant for evil and what they tried to do and what they tried to manipulate and what they tried to create, God has a way. Now watch this. It did not exempt us from going through it, but God had a way of turning it around for my good. That's why I believe in the larger scope of our reality as believers. That's why I believe that Paul says all things work together for the good of those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose. I don't know. Maybe sometimes in the face of setbacks, maybe sometimes in the face of failure, maybe sometimes in the face of dealing with an L, we have to declare all things. Everybody say all things. That speaks to this. I'm not gonna place all the weight of my life on this one thing, because this one thing has to work with everything else, and all things work together for my good. I just make that my declaration. It's working for my good. It doesn't feel good, but it's working for my good. Learning from our losses. John 21, as I referenced a moment ago, is a post-resurrection passage. Jesus had been crucified, buried, but now has risen from the grave. And Jesus meets 7 of his disciples in Galilee, the very place that when the women came to the tomb, he told them, go tell my disciples and Peter to meet me in Galilee. It is there, while in Galilee, they engaged in their former occupation. You heard it. Peter says, I'm going fishing. And everybody else said, we're going with you. The disciples, I know if I was there, this would be my reality. The disciples were still challenged with and yet processing the resurrection. We got word. He had appeared to us, but man, what do we do with this, and where do we go from here? Peter, who denied him 3 times, listen to me, if none of the others, he himself needed restoration. He needed to be restored. Now, let me press the football analogy for Peter's sake. When I say that we can experience setbacks, we can experience failures, we can take L's. Peter's action leading up to the arrest and the crucifixion of Jesus, I believe, is synonymous with this. It's synonymous with the quarterback getting sacked while they're on a winning drive. It's synonymous with the running back fumbling the ball on the 1-yard line. It's synonymous with the wide receiver dropping the pass that would have moved them down the field. It's synonymous with the defense getting a penalty that moves the opposing team within field goal position to win the game. There are times, like in Peter's life, we can take some L's, have some setbacks, and experience some failures. But the beautiful thing about what the Lord does in this passage for Peter, and yet by way of extension for us, he lets us know that although that was your reality, if you allow me to, I can redeem you from that and move you from that place. Because hear me today, that this scene sets up both the reaffirmation of their mission. Because as he meets them in Galilee, he's about to now right their course and put them back where they needed to be. It was a reaffirmation of their mission, but here's what it also served, and I love this part. It was a restoration of Peter's leadership. A restoration of, whenever the Lord got to single you out and call your name, go tell my disciples and Peter, he has you on his mind. In other words, what he originally planned for your life, he didn't change his mind. Although you went left, he's coming to get you so that he can bring you right where he wants you to be. He's restoring Peter relative to his leadership. Now watch this. This ordinary event turned out in less than an ordinary way. Not what they would have expected. Look at verse number 3 real quick. It turned out in a less than ordinary outcome. Verse 3 says, Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we're going with you. They went out. Everybody say they went out. They got into the boat. Everybody say got into the boat. But watch this. But that night they caught nothing. Man, what was second nature to them, fishing, didn't yield the results that they were used to. Despite their experience, no doubt their expertise, here's what they did. That night, they took an L. They failed to catch anything. And sometimes, even when we are, listen, most confident, things won't always go as planned. I'm going to say that again. Even when we are most confident, even when we are working what we would call in our zone of genius, even when we're doing the thing that we have done for so long, it's not a guarantee that it's always going to turn out the way that you think it's going to turn out. I mean, most teams go into the week with a game plan. But that game plan doesn't always materialize on that Sunday. But here's the reality, that it is moments like this that actually sets the stage for you and I learning from our losses. And parenthetically, I don't think we do enough watching of game film. I don't think that we evaluate the loss as much as we should to learn from it, and consequently we wind up running the same plays, doing the same things, and getting the same results. You've heard it down through the years. Why don't you echo it with me? Everybody repeat after me. If you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. Which means, conversely, if you want something different, you might need to do something different. Might need to make some adjustments, might need to make some changes. So watch this. It sets the stage for learning from our losses. So let's talk life. Why does this matter? Whether the setback is in relationships, whether the setback is in your career or entrepreneurial effort, whether the setback is in your finances, your health, your personal goals, your spiritual growth, or even your ministry, wherever the setback is, I want to echo it again. Failure does not have to be the final chapter. Oh, I wish I had time. Failure doesn't have to be the final chapter. In your life, catch this, in your life, you got to look at it this way, that even if people choose that they want to write your biography, here's what they don't get to do. They don't get to write your autobiography. If they write your biography, here's what I'm saying. They get to decide how the story ends. And their last chapter might be, in the last words in their chapter might be the end. But if I'm writing my own autobiography, it doesn't matter what I have to go through. It doesn't matter the ups and downs, the setbacks, the L's. I get to write the last chapter. And instead of the end, if I'm writing my autobiography, here's my last line: to be continued. Tune in next week. because nobody gets to determine that about your life. You get to write that. And I'm saying to us that it does not have to be the final chapter. Here's the reality. That doing something that worked at one time, you got to hear this. But now it's not working. It comes with, I know, emotions. It comes with feelings. It comes with disappointment. It comes with disgust. It comes with feeling demoralized. It comes with being dispirited. I mean, you're disappointed because you had a game plan. It comes with being disgusted because, okay, even the folk on your team may not be living up to fulfilling their position. All of that matters. All of that comes into play. And here's what we got to be careful about. All of this is breeding ground for uncertainty. I'm going to say it again. All of it is breeding ground for uncertainty. In other words, what does this mean for my future? What's going to happen now in light of this? Am I going to, like them in the text, am I going to settle for the familiar, or am I going to be willing to focus on the mission he gave me and keep moving forward? I just feel it in my spirit, so I'm going to say it. Some things are not even worth going back to. That was, y'all do know that was for free, right? I ain't even charging y'all for that one. Some things are not even worth going back to, because here's the reality. Oh, Lord, help me. Because there's some things you just can't fix. You can't fix it. And you got to allow God to do only what God can do in that situation, to either one, redeem it, or at best, even if it's not a redemption, it is a reaffirmation that I haven't changed my mind about you. So watch this. All of it, when we take it together, the truth is simply this. Jesus, and I love this, listen to this statement. Jesus will meet us where we are to show us what we need to see and to teach us what we need to know. Jesus will meet you where you are to show you what you need to see so he can teach you what you need to know. One more time. If he's going to turn my setbacks into setups for my comeback, he's going to have to show me what I need to see. He's going to have to teach me what I need to know. Look at verse number 1, John 21, verse number 1, and then I'll unpack it and we're done. Verse number 1, John 21, the language is beautiful. It says, after this, Jesus revealed. Everybody say revealed. After this, Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias, and he revealed himself in this way. Now, whenever words are repeated in the passage, let alone in one verse, we got to sit up and take note of it. It says he revealed himself. And he revealed himself in this way. This word reveal means this. It means to show oneself. It means to make known. It means to make clear. To show oneself, to make known, and to make clear. Don't miss, when he talks about revealed in this particular context, it carries the idea that Jesus uses their failed situation to give them a revelation of who he is. Let me give it another way. That Jesus will use our situation as an opportunity to give us a revelation. Listen, there's some things you never gonna know. There's some things you're never gonna learn separate and apart from the situation, because sometimes it takes the situation to give you a revelation. Okay. All right. Let me try to cut across the field here. I won't know he's a doctor in a sick room until I'm in that situation. I won't know he's a lawyer. See, when I grew up and they used to say that in church, oh, he's a doctor in the sick room. A lawyer in the courtroom. I'm like, what? We sitting in church, what these people talking about? But when you done live life, when you done live life, You won't know that he's a doctor in a sick room until you have a situation where you need a doctor. You won't know he's a lawyer in the courtroom until you have a situation where you need a lawyer. Can I give you the third one? You won't know that he's a bridge. Y'all didn't go to the same church I went to? Over troubled water until you have to travel through some things and make it from point A to point B. I need a situation so that he can give me, yeah, you got it, a revelation. And if there's anything that we need, y'all, when we have a failed situation, we need a revelation. And God will meet us at our lowest points in life, at the places where sometimes our best efforts have failed, to show us what we need to see, which is him, and to teach us what we need to know, which is his ways. Oh, the psalmist says, it was good for me that I had been afflicted, that I might learn your ways. The psalmist says, listen, I had to go through what I went through in order that my eyes would be open so that I can learn what I needed to learn. And the main theological point in this, because I'm going to unpack the lessons that we need to learn, but the main theological point in this is simple. Jesus shows us his power to restore, to redirect, and recommission his followers. Please don't miss it. He shows us his power to redirect. He shows us his power to restore, and he shows us his power to recommission those whom he called for the purposes for which he has called them. But here's what we have to do. We have to look for and learn the lessons inside of every experience. We got to look for and learn the lessons inside of every experience. And I always like to give y'all some homework or hard work or something to do. That sometimes it doesn't require you saying anything, but it is a physical gesture of the inward reality that you're embracing. What did I just say? I said that when it comes down to it, we have to look for, everybody say look for. We have to look for and learn the lessons inside of every experience. So the next time you have a setback, next time you take an L, the next time you're experiencing what you would label as a failed situation, you don't even have to say nothing. Just do this. Come on, practice. Come on, show me. Oh, y'all not doing it, but that's okay. That's okay. That is okay. And when it gets tight enough, this is how you get. You way down here. And look, and then you get that squint on. Why? I'm looking for the lesson in this. Because God does not waste situations. Oh, y'all got to hear me today. God does not waste situations. I know you in it. I know it's distasteful. I know you wish you wouldn't have drew up the play that way. But God does not waste situations. But if I'm going to let it be a comeback, a setup for my comeback, I'm going to have to look for and I'm going to have to learn the lessons in every experience. And in the balance of my time, here's what I want to do from this passage, 2 verses. There's more here, but I'm not going to deal with it. I want to lift up for us 2 lessons that you and I have to learn from our losses. 2 lessons that if we're good students, they will teach us what we need to know and how we now need to show up in the future season or the future games in our seasons of life. 2 lessons. Here's lesson number 1. If I'm going to learn from my losses, I'm going to have to learn a lesson in honesty. Honesty. Everybody say, tell the truth. And I said it, tell yourself the truth. A lesson in honesty. Well, Pastor, where do you see that in the text? Verse number 5. Verse number 5. Notice what it says. Jesus said to them, children, I like the language. It shows that he's compassionate, he's caring. He says, children, do you have any fish? And they answered him, no. No. Now, the disciples, watch this, when asked by Jesus if they caught anything, they were honest about their failure. They were honest about their setback. They were honest about their L. They said no. Here's what they did not say, that if we were them, we might have would have wanted to kind of extend it. Children, do you have any fish? Well, what had happened was Joe had a hole in the net. What had happened was the wind was blowing in the wrong direction. What had happened was the twin was supposed to hold the net this way, but he wound up letting it slip. No. Here's what they didn't do. Hear me. They didn't point the finger. They didn't try to shift blame. They didn't make excuses. Their one-word answer to the Lord is no. No. And watch this. Here's what honesty does. Here's why I'm pressing this point. Honesty opens the door for Jesus to intervene. Here's what you can't do. Here's what I can't do. I can't go to the doctor knowing I'm not feeling well. I done made the appointment. I done drove there. I done waited. My name is called. Now I'm in the back. They put me on that scale that always lies. You know, well, you know, I'd be like, can I take my shoes off? Can I get my keys out my pocket? You know what I'm saying? But then I get there in the back, and the doctor, the nurse practitioner comes in, and they say, so how you doing today? Oh, I'm all right. I'm doing good. You doing good? Oh yeah, I'm doing good. I'm feeling. And I think that would breed some confusion. You in the doctor's office. Something brought you there. And you're talking to the one who's able and who would be tasked with diagnosing your condition in order to offer a remedy so that you can get better. And when you're asked, how you doing? I'm good. No. You got to be honest. You got to be honest about what's hurting. You got to be honest about how you're feeling. You got to be honest about what brought you there. Because unless we are honest with the doctor who's there to help us, we won't get the help that we desperately need. What am I saying? When Jesus confronts us with the question, first of all, no, he already knows the answer. But he asked us, what's going on? How is it? What has happened? We have to be honest. Listen, we got to be honest, first of all, with ourselves. And we have to be honest with God about our failures and our shortcomings. Remember what I said at the top of the message? It's not to rehearse them. It's not to dwell on them. It's not to live in them, but it's to learn from them. So we got to be honest about our failures, our shortcomings. We got to face it head on. Here it is, with an open heart, allowing God's grace to work in us. Allowing his grace to work in us. Because I've discovered in my own life, whenever there's a setback, whenever there's a failure, whenever there's an L that I've taken, if I needed anything to help me come back, I needed the grace of God. I needed his unmerited favor that was being showered on me, although I really didn't deserve it. But because he loves me the way that he does, he's willing to restore me in spite of me. And really, it's not just in spite of me. He's willing to restore me because of what Jesus has already done. Here it is. Here's the truth, and I alluded to it just a moment ago. Here's the truth you got to take to heart, and don't miss it. Jesus already knows your failures. He already knows where you missed it. He already knows the drop pass. He already knows you fumbled on the 1 yard line. He already knows. But he wants you to admit it. He wants me to admit it so that he can step in and transform the situation. And I'm going to number 2. But if we're going to do anything in order to make this a realization, we're going to have to tear down the idol of pride. Of pride. That I don't want to admit that I missed it because I'm prideful. I don't want to admit that I've had a setback because I'm prideful. I'm not claiming that loss, baby. Whether you claim it or not. The scoreboard says, in this game right here, you went fishing and caught nothing. You came up short. And so I got to tear down pride in my attempt to cover up and justify my failure. Because if pride will do anything, and I'm moving, if pride will do anything, pride will block the blessing that can come to your life by you being transparent with God and saying, God, here it is. Thank you for your grace, but along with your grace, I'm throwing myself on the mercy of your court. Because admitting failure is not defeat. It's the first step towards recovery and restoration. I love it. I love watching the post-game interviews. Because it's in the post-game interviews when you, particularly they only interview the star players. In doing the post-game interviews, you got some players who, on certain teams that I'm not going to name, but you got some players. And then I'm going to tell you about us as fans. You got some players on certain teams, when you interview them, they pointing the finger at everybody but themselves. And then you got other players who they're standing at the podium They're being asked questions about what happened, what went wrong, and here's what most of them say: I got to play better. They ain't putting it on it. I have to play better. I have to show up better. But now let me tell you about us fans. What's our record right now? 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. Now we play Atlanta today, right? Can I have a minute to digress for 1 second? 1 minute? I promise you, 1 minute. Last week I was preaching at Household of Faith, and I was telling them, I said, we want a black and gold Super Bowl in New Orleans. Come on now, what better ending to the season would that be? A black and gold Super Bowl in New Orleans? I said, but even if we don't win the Super Bowl, I said, there are some games that for us are Super Bowlish. That are Super Bowlish. I said, if we beat Dallas, no, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying, listen. But no, I'm just saying. If we beat Dallas, that's Super Bowlish. Because Dallas got fans everywhere. But if we beat Atlanta, oh, come on, man. We can be 2-17, but we beat Atlanta twice. That's Super Bowlish. We're 2-1. 2-1. I hope they watched the film from last week. But hear my point. The first two games, here's what I saw on social media. We're riding in the car. They were all on Derek Carr. Oh, Derek Carr. You saw the numbers? Derek Carr. Gonna let them lose today. Let them lose today. They're going to say he trash. I don't know why they drafted for him. He was nothing when they got him. Listen, am I telling the truth? That's what we do. And if we do it to a team, if we do it to a player, I want you to think about your own life. When you're up, everybody's with you. But when you have a setback, they weren't about nothing anyway. I knew it was only a matter of time anyway. No, baby. I'm not giving you that much power over my life to get in my head and to get in my psyche. I know what I got to do to show up and play differently and win in the next season, because I'm going to learn and I'm going to be honest about my own performance. Here's the second lesson. A lesson in honesty. But verse 6. Verse 6 shows us the second lesson I want to lift up. And that's a lesson in humility. Humility. Everybody say humility. Honesty, yes, but humility. Watch verse number 6. So they gave the answer, no. He said, okay. He said to them, cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. You don't have no fish. Setback, failure, loss. Cast your net on the right side, it says, and you will find some. Here's the humility. Listen well. It says, so they cast it. Oh, I love that. So they cast it. Here's what this is reminiscent of. It's reminiscent, and you got to see the theological chessboard here. It's reminiscent of when Jesus walked on the shores of Galilee, and he called them for the first time. If you go back and you read Luke chapter number 5, he said to Peter, Pete, let me borrow your boat. He said, I need to minister and preach. So he got on Peter's boat and he taught. After he finished teaching, here's what he said to Peter, and the text bears this out. He says, they were already on the shores mending their nets. He said to Peter, Pete, cast out to the deep a little further and let down your nets for a draught. Let down your nets for a haul. Here's what Peter said, Lord, we've toiled all night. Lord, I know you a carpenter. We fishermen. And the ideal time to fish is at night, not when the sun comes up. Lord, anybody ever looked at you like this? Oh, I know you mean well, but you don't know. That's what he was saying in Luke chapter number 5. But then the text says, he says, all right, nevertheless, at your word, we're going to let it down. It's reminiscent of that because Galilee is where he first called them. The chessboard, the theological chessboard is this. They're right back where he originally called them. The same sea, same shore, and now he says, I want you to cast and let down your net on the right side of the boat, and you will catch. And the text says, and they cast it. You ain't hear nothing about, we toiled all night. You ain't hear nothing about, oh, you're a carpenter with it. No. Here's the lesson. The lesson is a lesson in humility. That the Lord might tell you to do something that you think is counterintuitive to what you're trying to achieve. And in your own thinking, it'll never work out that way. And could it be we talk ourselves out of more blessings because of what we question and aren't willing to do? No, here's what they did. They cast it. No, I got to hurry. Watch the play on words. Y'all don't have nothing? No. Okay. Cast your net on the right side of the ship, on the right side of the boat, which suggests to me we can be in the right water but fishing from the wrong side. Oh, that excited me, even if it didn't excite y'all. That's okay. Meaning, we're not talking about a cruise ship. We're not talking about a tanker. We're talking about a boat that could hold a certain number of people that wasn't that wide. Y'all been fishing over here, huh? Stay in the same water. Use the same net, but just adjust. Adjust. You got the skill, you got the experience, you got the know-how, but make this one adjustment. And he says, cast it on the right side, and the text says, when they cast it, they couldn't even haul it in. What am I saying to you? I'm saying we got to get to the place where in our humility, we got to be willing to follow the instructions and the directions that he gives us, even if it doesn't make sense to us, because my best shot, because my blessing is on the other side of my obedience. All my high school people, Danny, we was in St. Bernard. We had our lockers. And I was excited when I got a lock where at the bottom of the lock you just flip it up and you were able to put in those 3 numbers. You know, click the little thing, put in 3 numbers. Oh, you were high class if you had that. But when you first got to high school, you had those combination locks. Huh? And so what you had to do, you had to turn right, got to get it set. Then you got to go to your first number. Then you got to turn back to your left to your second number. Thank you. Passing the first number and then going back in the other direction to your last number. And if you've never done this, I won't call you a lie. If you've never done this, after you got to that third number and you know the bell's about to ring and you about to pull down on that lock, you're like, Lord Jesus, please let this lock open. And you pull down and it don't open. You're like, oh. Because what do you know? What do you have to do? You got to do it all over again. Here it is. Nothing was wrong with the combination. But the challenge was, I may not have been on the number I thought I was on, or I might not have passed that first number like I was supposed to, and then go to the second number. And so I had to now do it and pay close attention. I'm on my number. My number's 3. I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to go past 3. I got my second number. I'm going to go from there to the right to my third number. And now I know I did it. Now you stand with your chest out and you know it's going to, Listen. Humility says, follow the instructions. Humility says it may not make sense to you. Humility says it may be counterintuitive and you don't think it's supposed to work that way. But could it be the Lord knows what we don't know, have knowledge that we don't have? And humility recognizes the fact that even in my best efforts, I need the Lord to guide me. I need the Lord to help me. Because humility brings God's favor. I'm done. Listen, if we're going to learn from our losses, number 1, it's a lesson in honesty. Everybody say honesty. Number 2, it's a lesson in humility. Everybody say humility. Let's look at how it ends. Verse number 7. And we're done. Verse number 7. It says, that disciple whom Jesus loved. Now they done hauled in, or they done caught the large number of fish. That disciple whom Jesus loved, therefore, talking about John, said to Peter, it is the Lord. Because remember, early on in the chapter, early on in this passage, he was on the shore. They saw him, but they didn't know it was him. He says, it is the Lord. And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, threw himself in the sea, and now he's swimming to go to the shore to where Jesus is. When Peter recognizes that it is Jesus, he immediately jumps in the water to reach him. Say it again. When he recognizes that it's Jesus, he immediately jumps in the water to go to him. The clothing of himself, the doing all that he did do was an act of honoring and recognizing not only Jesus' presence, please hear this, it was recognizing Jesus' role in their success in recovering from that failed night. Oh, y'all don't miss this. That after he has allowed your setback to be a setup for your comeback, Because you've learned a lesson in honesty. You've learned a lesson in humility. Here's what you have to be able to do. You got to be able to go back to the one who made the way and honor the one who made the way when nothing else could be done. We can't get on top and forget who brought us there. We can't get through it and then not realize that it's not us who brought our own selves through, but if it had not been for the Lord who's been on our side, where would we be? Here it is. In moments like this, it is the restoration. It is the reaffirmation. It is the redirection that all comes from the one who loves us. That all comes from the one who knows what we don't know. He's wiser than we are. And my challenge to you is this, that in moments of loss, when you feel the pressure of failure, I need you to embrace honesty. I need you to embrace humility. I need you to look for and learn from the lessons that are in every experience. And like Peter, who realized that it was the Lord who was behind it, that you're willing to, hear this, honor him, because the text says that he jumped in the water. You're willing to honor him without hesitation. Without hesitation. Who you giving credit to? Who you giving credit to? That you were on the bottom, now you're on top. Who you giving credit to? That you done recovered. Who you giving credit to? You clean. Who you giving credit to? You restored. Who you giving credit to? Zena and I were having a conversation with a couple this past week, and in having that conversation, we was talking to them about their relationship, their life, and all that. Again, talking about our lives. And here's what we said to them. We said, we've sat down and we've talked to people. We've gotten counsel. Everybody say years ago. All right. We've sat down, we talked to people, and we still do if we need to today. But we sat down, we talk to people, and they give us instruction, they give us direction. But here's the reality. We still got to go back and put in the work. We still got to go back and do it. And although we are, although we are appreciative of them, they don't get the glory. Although we're grateful that they were used to help us, they don't get the glory. All the glory, all the honor, all the praise belongs to him. Let me give you a verse to memorize, a verse to hold on to. It's a verse that you know. We know the second one. Sometimes we discount the first one. It's Psalm 118, verses 23 and 24. We know verse 24. Verse 24 says, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. But hold up. The verse before that says this, and I'm praying. This is the Lord's doing. Y'all, and it's marvelous in our eyes. That when I look at where I was, and I look at where I am now, when I look at what I had, and now when I look at what I have now, it is the Lord's doing. And it's marvelous in my eyes. Every head bowed, every eye closed. We're praying. Father, we love you. We thank you. We thank you on today. That, Father, even as we move towards the end of this year, Father, we thank you today that even in the natural, as we're exiting out of one season and preparing for the next season, thank you that even symbolically, you're transitioning us from season to season. And although we have setbacks, although we have L's, although we may fail, it doesn't define who we are. it doesn't define what you want to do for us, because you are a God of restoration, and you're able to redeem and reclaim that which is yours. I pray for all under the sound of my voice, on site or online, who have experienced setbacks. And I pray that they look for and that they learn the lessons that are in each one of those experiences, so that they can boldly say on the other side that it was your doing. It's marvelous in their eyes, and this is the day that you have made, and we rejoice and we're glad in it. It's in Jesus' name, amen. Come on, put your hands together and bless him on today. Listen, let's prepare ourselves to give on site and online. We have one offering here at the fellowship, but in that one offering we accomplish a number of purposes. If you're giving by way of offering envelope, you know where they are. They're in the pew chairs in front of you. If you're doing it by way of your device, the information is on the screen. Those of you who are online, they're showing you the same information so that you are afforded an opportunity to give, to support, to sow. We come first and foremost with our tithe, believing that that's God's plan to bless our lives. We honor him, we obey him, and we return back to him that which he says is holy unto him. But then we give through our offering out of love, out of appreciation, because of all the good that he extends and bestows on our lives. Our kingdom investment, we're giving above and beyond what we would normally do. It's not always equal gifts, but it can be equal sacrifice, where you allow God to lay upon your heart what it is that you're sowing based upon the projects that we are embarking upon as a ministry to do meaningful ministry in our community. And then lastly, as you continue to bless my life, I thank God each and every time I'm laid upon your heart by God to sow into my life. It is greatly appreciated. The information there, $ the fellowship Violet is our cash app. $ Henry Ballard Jr., my cash app if you're sowing directly into my life, or text to give, CFFWC to 77977, of course the website. And then for those of you who give by way of your Givelify app, you can do just that. So all these ways you can give on today to sow into the work of the kingdom. Amen. If you're ready, come on, stand to your feet. We're going to do our confession. And then our workers are going to receive the offering envelopes of those who are giving by way of offering envelopes, lower level, upper level balcony. You'll be served the same way. Come on, let's do it. My God provides all my need, so I faithfully sow my seed. I'm living in the overflow. I expect more than ever before. More grace. One more time. Come on, shout it. Go ahead and take your seats real quick. Our workers are going to come around and receive your offering. For those who are giving by way of envelopes, if you're giving by way of your device, again, we thank you. My online givers, thank you so much, again, for your continued and faithful support of the ministry, enabling us to do meaningful ministry in the community. Of course, our membership, those who are just friends of the ministry, we thank you, we thank you, we thank you for all that you